starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hi everybody, I'm Nick Monticelli coming to you here on a somber note to kick off Local 4 live in Grand Blanc Township, the scene of that church attack that happened yesterday morning, 10:25 to be exact. I'm going to step out of the way here and show you exactly what is happening. The FBI, Grand Blanc Township, and other authorities still on scene. They have been working throughout the night to see if they can find any more victims inside of the church. Yesterday, the police chief told us that there were still some people that were unaccounted for. This has been a horrible situation, not only here, but also at the suspect's home, where the MSP had to use multiple different tools to try to see if there were any other explosives inside of the home, because they found IEDs inside of his truck. In fact, we can zoom in and show you that truck as we're doing right now. It's that silver GMC with the two American flags on the back of it. That is the vehicle that Thomas Jacob Sanford used to ram through the front doors of the church, light it on fire, and also shoot into the crowd. There were about 100 people inside. I want you to listen to what it was like at the very beginning here as 911 calls were made, and then officers got here within 30 seconds of that first call.
We have an active shooter at the church, and PD's on scene saying the building is also on fire.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
I need help in here, please. If you're the IC, I need help in here.
All right, so again, you can hear not only the chaos, but the panic and the frustration as you had people trapped inside of the church. A total of 10 people were hurt. 2 people died from gunshot wounds. Another 2 died because they were trapped in that fire, as you just heard. Now we're going to kind of lay it out here. At 10:25 is when Sanford rammed into the church and started shooting, and also lit it on fire. 30 seconds later, you had officers on scene, and 8 minutes after that is when Sanford was shot and killed by both a Michigan DNR officer and a Grand Blanc Township officer in the rear parking lot of the church. All of that happened just within those 8 minutes. I also want to show you the next piece of video here. This is Sanford's home over on Burton again, because 3 IEDs were found inside of his truck. Michigan State Police using everything they had: drones, helicopters, robots, armed vehicles, canines, and more to go search his home and the property before they could go and start investigating. They got the search warrant. They were able to do that about 7 hours after they started looking for bombs and explosives. That's when the MSP gave the all clear and turned it over to the FBI. The FBI spent about 2.5 or 3 hours searching the home, looking for any kind of evidence or clues as to what a motive might be. As we had mentioned earlier, there were so many people inside of the church, hundreds during that Sunday morning service, 10 o'clock service presumably, and there could have been more victims, but the police chief said that people were using their bodies to shield the children from bullets.
I'd also like to acknowledge the heroism of not only the first responders, but the people who were inside that church at the time. They were shielding the children who were also present within the church, moving them to safety. Just hundreds of people just practicing their faith. Just extreme courage, brave, and that's the type of community that we are.
All right, so here's what we know about the suspect so far. Again, Thomas Jacob Sanford, known better as Jake in this community, born July 1985. He's 40 years old. From Burton, he bought that house in 2017. He graduated from Goodrich High School in 2003, and he does have a little criminal history, arrested in 2011 for felony burglary. Back out here live, you can see all of the people, all the agents and investigators that are now kind of coming around and getting up to the next shift that's going to be working here. In fact, we have more FBI agents that are off to my left that are going to be joining this as well. This is a joint effort with multiple agencies involved. Again, the FBI, ATF, Michigan State Police, Grand Blanc Township, the city of Burton, Grand Blanc City, and so much more. As we said earlier at the beginning of our show, there are still some victims that are unaccounted for. They're hoping they don't find any more inside, but that certainly is a possibility because, as you saw from the video, the church is destroyed, and there were so many issues getting in there and trying to get to those victims who, as you heard originally, 2 people died because of the fire itself. Priya Mann is at the hospital here nearby. She has been working to get more information on the other victims and talking to people too. Priya, my understanding is that you've got kind of a mix there. You have some people still in critical, some people who are now in stable condition.
Yeah, Nick, we had 8 people who were rushed here to Henry Ford Genesis Hospital. We know 7 people are in stable condition. 1 person is in critical condition. As you mentioned, there were about 100 people attending church service when gunfire broke out. And as word of the mass shooting spread, there has been an outpouring of support from vigils to prayer services to people dropping off donations. This is a community that's coming together.
We went out to go look at the church and pray on the grounds, but the street was blocked off.
Not far from the scene of a horrific mass shooting, family members were reunited at the Trillium Theater. Church member Stephanie Giddings missed church to go to work on Sunday and says learning what happened was gut-wrenching.
And my daughter was just baptized there, so it's hard.
A primary teacher recounted the horrifying moments after a gunman ran his truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township and opened fire.
We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos.
In an interview with NBC, Paula Masser says the shooter, identified by police as Thomas Jacob Sanford, shot at her and other church members as they tried to escape.
I got in a car with friends. I got my friend in a car, and we got a friend, and we were getting ready to leave, and the shooter shot at the car. 3 bullets hit the car.
As the community grapples with the senseless shooting on Sunday evening, local churches came together with people of all faiths praying for healing.
Tonight, there's just no titles. We're all just here to pray and ask God to help us.
Now out here live at the hospital, there's actually a nurses strike that's happening, and they've got nurses who are picketing, but there's also signs here specifically for the victims of this mass shooting. You can see that one sign, pray for our community. Nurses telling me that their thoughts, of course, are with the victims here. This is a situation where a lot of these nurses would have wanted to help save some of these lives. Again, here at the hospital, we know that there are 7 people in stable condition. 1 person is in critical condition. And again, this is a very active investigation with some people unaccounted for. We do know that at least 10 people were injured, 4 people were killed. 2 of those bodies only discovered after that fire was put out. So again, those search efforts will continue today. And Nick, as you mentioned, it is a multi-joint effort here with various law enforcement agencies. So it'll be a very busy day here as well in Grand Blanc Township. Again, reporting live at the hospital, I'm Priya Mann. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Priya, I know this is kind of a difficult situation for both of us because we're kind of on the outside of things here at the crime scene, at the church, and at the hospital. I know it's very difficult to get anywhere near there, so we appreciate the efforts you've done there and getting some updates for us. We're going to take a short break here on Local 4 Live. When we come back, Darnell Blackburn is going to join us in studio to talk more about the investigation, what is happening. Since he's a former police officer, he can give us some insight into exactly what they have to do next, not only here at the church, but really trying to find a motive, because that is really what a lot of people are asking here on this Monday morning. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. You're looking live at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and you're looking at the attackers' pickup truck there, the white pickup that's out front of the church that was used yesterday. You see a couple of American flags in the back of it. Right now, we know at least 4 people have been killed in this attack, not including the shooter. 2 were killed in the shooting. 2 others found inside the church after the fire was put out. But we know from investigators, some people are still unaccounted for as they search the rubble of that church. They have confirmed, as we say, they don't have a number of people that are unaccounted for, but right now they are continuing that search. We're going to get back out to Nick and Pri in a bit, but we wanted to check in with Darnell, who's all morning and even going back in the last evening, breaking down this event, the investigation, and of course, all the reminders that we normally like to talk about in these situations when it comes to being a victim of mass shootings or mass violence. What stands out to you right now as to what will happen likely today with this investigation?
Well, the biggest thing, Jay, is that the police are combing through the rubble of the church. They're combing through his apartment, or I'm sorry, wherever he lived, I should say.
It appears to be a house.
It appears to be a house where he lived. They're going to go through, every little minute detail, whether it be computers, whether it be laptops, whether it be a tablet, or even looking through that stuff to find stuff from his trash, just to figure out a motive. Another thing that they're going to do is they're going to be interviewing any and everybody who has contact with him. So they'll be talking to family members, of course, talking to neighbors. We spoke to a neighbor, and who gave us a soundbite that said that she's not that surprised about it. So,
in fact, I should point out we're going to play the entirety of that interview coming up in our next hour. So stay tuned to that. But like you said, it just offers some insight and I think the reason she said is she had heard him talk derogatorily about certain groups that was just unacceptable.
And that's something in and of itself. It's looking at red flags, and that's no indication that somebody's going to do something like this. But I want to highlight this. We haven't spoken about it, but if you see something or see something, say something. If you have a neighbor or something, like, you don't want to just go make calls about people, but if they're acting suspiciously or you see something, take note of that and maybe talk to some of their loved ones and kind of say, hey, what kind of stuff are they saying? And it doesn't hurt to put police on radar and put this person on radar and just say, hey, look out for this person.
And then that maybe can lead to something down the line. If we find ourselves in situations like this, we talk about soft targets all the time, movie theaters, schools, churches. It's still important to, I call it the mobster mentality. You want to sit with your back against the wall so you can see all exits, but most churches aren't laid out like that.
They aren't. And again, there was a statement that came out that said church is supposed to be a place of sanctity and worship. And unfortunately, no place in this day and age is completely safe. And so what we have to do as individuals is we have to be prepared. We have to have a plan ready so that if this kind of thing happens, we have something in place, knowing where the exits are, sitting close to those exits, sitting with maybe you sit in the rear of the church and you watch, and get up periodically. I don't want to make people just completely, terrified to go out, but you have to be prepared. And talking to your family about this type of stuff. If you have small children, say, hey, if mommy and daddy say go, it's time to go. Yeah. These are things that we have to do because there's so many places that are vulnerable, and unfortunately, bad people target vulnerable places.
Yeah, it's just one of those situations. It's just the way of the world, and until things change, the pendulum swings back. This is what we have to prepare for. Yeah. Thanks for the insight, Darnell, as always. Make sure you stay with us online and on air. Click on Detroit.com is where you'll find all of our updates on the deadly church shooting investigation. And as we expect, we're going to learn a lot more today. You can also get information about support services for families that have been affected here. And if you have any tips to help with the investigation, you can contact the FBI by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI or go online to tips.fbi.gov. We're coming right back in just a minute with a check of the forecast. Stick around. And as you take a live look at Lansing, remember, lawmakers still with a lot of loose ends to tie up to avoid a government shutdown this week. We'll give you the latest on when a vote could happen coming up. Welcome back on this Monday morning for Local 4 Live, everybody. We've been out in Grand Blanc Township since yesterday and through the morning today, where that community is left wondering why a Sunday service at a church was interrupted by terror. That's when police say a 40-year-old former Marine drove his pickup into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then started shooting, then after that set the church on fire. And we're getting a look at that attacker's vehicle this morning as investigators are on the scene. What we know as of this morning, at least 4 parishioners were confirmed killed, 2 of them killed in the shooting. The other 2 were found inside the church after the fire was put out. Investigators do believe there are others who are unaccounted for, and they expect to find more people today. The FBI leading the investigation now and calling this a targeted attack. President Donald Trump was briefed on the situation yesterday in a statement saying this appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America. This epidemic of violence in our country must end immediately. Governor Gretchen Whitmer also responding, saying her heart is breaking for the Grand Blanc community, adding violence anywhere, especially in a place of worship, is unacceptable. You can see statements from other leaders that have responded to this at clickondetroit.com. That QR code will get you to all of our coverage as we follow this, both the investigation and the aftermath. And of course, we'll post any updates there as we get them. Turning now to some of your headlines today. The trial begins today for 2 men charged with murdering a man inside his Rochester Hills home last October. Carlos Hernandez and Josh Zuazo, accused of posing as DTE workers to get into Hussein Murray's home. Investigators say the suspects told the Hamtramck jeweler they were checking for a gas leak before prosecutors say they murdered him in his basement. The men are also accused of tying up Murray's wife while in that home. Jury selection beginning shortly and expected to last 2 days. Let's head to Lansing. You should take a look at the Capitol this morning. That should be a busy place over the next couple of days. Lawmakers tying up loose ends to avoid a state government shutdown. The framework of a deal was put in place last Thursday between both sides, but each acknowledged there is still a lot of work to be done. And on Flashpoint Sunday morning, we spoke with some insiders who say at this point, you may have a framework, but it only takes a couple of little things for it all to crumble. So we're waiting to see. The governor needs to be able to sign a deal by midnight tomorrow, or the government will shut down. Both sides say this deal is trying to lower costs for Michiganders, reduce waste, and increase government efficiency. As we say, lawmakers expected to vote on this by tomorrow. If they don't pass something, as we say, we'll be ready with any updates on if there will be a government shutdown. But hopefully they can avert that. All right, let's say good morning again to Ashley Barassi as a nice, uneventful day. Here we are. I just can't get over how many people just keep talking about, wow, this stretch of summer won't end. It's quite bothersome how many people are ready for it to end. Can we just enjoy it for an extra whatever?
I know. I mean, you'll wish that we're still in the summer when it feels like it's 15 degrees below zero with a wind chill. But it is hard to kind of get into the fall spirit. I mean, I put my Halloween decorations out over the weekend, and I still have all my summer flowers looking beautiful, and it just doesn't feel right. It's not jiving. But our September high temperatures, I mean, they have been well above average for the most part. We had that really cool stretch the first week of the month, and then we've just been clocking in at or above average. We're going to tag on 2 more above average days as we round out the month for a total of 18 above average days for September. Who would have thunk it back in the first couple days of September when it would have felt like we just jumped into October?
I automatically expect 50s in September, not one day.
Not one day. So here we go. We are in the 50s to start. It just won't be the afternoon. Right. Yeah. So we have 55 at Metro Airport, 49 in Ann Arbor, but really either side of 50 across the board. And so the next 2 days, today and tomorrow, will be on either side of 80, so that puts us more than 10 degrees above average. However, when we get to October, the 1st and the 2nd, okay, it might start to feel a little more October-like. Then Mother Nature's like, haha, just kidding, because we're going to have another summer weekend ahead. So your out-the-door forecast will be right around 81. Tell you what, you definitely don't want to forget the sunglasses today. And if you do have to spend time outside, stay hydrated because you're going to be baking in that sunshine. We have the Red Wings in action tonight over at LCA. I was just talking to my son, big Red Wings fan, on the phone, and we were recapping where we're at. I know it's preseason, Jason, but they are undefeated at home in the preseason. Just saying. Just saying. Carter's really excited about it, let me tell you.
I love it.
Yeah, so puck drops at 7 o'clock tonight against the Penguins. Clear skies, and we'll be falling in the mid-60s by game's end. So it'll be a nice, pleasant walk to your car after that. Rain chances next to none. I mean, we are in a stretch of weather where, I mean, we're going to be hard-pressed to find a drop of rain. So if you did purchase your mums or you still have those summer flowers out there, you have to do all the work because Mother Nature's not doing any of that for you. Tonight, similar setup compared to last night. So this is what you're waking up to tomorrow morning. We'll have the 50s and 40s back on the board. And then tomorrow afternoon, maybe a degree or two cooler than today, but pretty much a very similar day. Tracking the tropics real quickly, we have Umberto Cat 4. Won't make landfall in the U.S., but you can see the disturbance that was just west of there. That's a tropical storm. And so that's going to continue to push to the northeast. But in the meantime, bringing tropical storm force winds and heavy rain to the Atlantic coastline of Florida. So we are in the peak still of hurricane season, but here close to home, feeling like, you know, we're just going to continue summer on, the never-ending summer. I love it. This weekend.
I was waiting for you to ask the question. You didn't ask. Is there a question you think you were going to ask me at the end of the weekend? Well, Jason, did you...
Did you use your pool?
No. Well, yes, I did do that.
Oh, my gosh.
But did you break down and turn the air conditioning on?
Oh, I did think about it. Yes, I did think about that.
Yes, Saturday, 4:30.
Because we were in the mid-80s on Saturday.
But then turned it off for the overnight hours, which was great. And I'm sure we'll turn it back on again.
So at least
today.
you're saving a little money. It's not, you know, going all day long.
I hope so. Good forecast. Love it. We're back in a minute with some updates on the news of the day. Plus, we're going to back out live to Grand Blanc Township, where we will get the very latest on the deadly shooting and fire there that happened during Sunday services yesterday. Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm Jason Coulthorpe with a Local 4 News update. A faith community trying to figure out why Sunday services were interrupted by gunfire and then by fire. Police saying a 40-year-old former Marine drove his pickup into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, then set the church on fire, and you see what it turned into. Here's what we do know at this moment. 4 people confirmed dead, 2 of them during the shooting, 2 others found after the fire was put out. The FBI is leading this investigation, calling it a targeted attack. Stay with Local 4 and click on Detroit.com throughout the day as we get more updates, as we learn more about the attacker and also the victims with this. You can expect another update on Local 4 Live coming up on Local 4 Plus right after this.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hi, everybody. Nick Monticelli here, live in Grand Blanc Township to kick off Local 4 Live at 8:30 here on your Monday. We have been staked out here all morning, and I've been here all since yesterday at about 12:30 covering this attack at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township. Let me step out of the way so you can see what's going on behind me here. This is the church where that attack happened at 10:25 yesterday morning, and you can see here there are still lots of investigators working to process this scene, and also you can see the suspect's silver pickup truck that he used to ram the front doors of this church before lighting it on fire with gasoline and shooting into the crowds of hundreds of people. Right now, there are still 10 victims, 2 of them killed by gunfire. The other 2 died in the fire that was set intentionally.
We have an active shooter at the church, and PD's on scene saying the building is also on fire.
10:25 a.m. is when Thomas Jacob Sanford started attacking the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ramming his pickup truck through the front entrance, shooting into the crowd, and using an accelerant, likely gasoline, to light the church on fire.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
Hundreds were inside the church for Sunday morning service. Police were there within 30 seconds of the shooting, and they shot and killed Sanford 8 minutes after the shooting started in the back parking lot. Inside, 10 victims were hurt. 2 were killed by gunshots, 2 more by the fire, and the rest are in critical or stable condition. And the Grand Blanc police chief says there could have been more.
The people who were inside that church at the time, they were shielding the children who were also present within the church.
Police also found 3 IEDs inside Sanford's truck. So at his home in Burton, about 9 miles from the church, the MSP bomb squad was methodical, using drones, helicopters, robots, armored vehicles, even canines to search his house and property. Neighbors looked on, horrified.
It's pretty sad that, people lost their lives, because you never know nowadays. When you walk out your front door, that you may never come back.
Then the FBI took over, combing through every square inch of his home, looking for anything that might point to a motive. Our Ty Steele talked to a friend of Sanford's who is not surprised.
If you ask me, out of everybody I know, to pick 10 people you think might do something a little like this, I wouldn't not pick him. And I hate saying that. He definitely talked about groups of people in ways that weren't acceptable.
Back out here live, you're going to get to watch that entire interview with that family that Ty talked to yesterday, coming up here on Local 4 Live at 9 a.m., so about 25 minutes from now. Again, you were looking live at the church. You can see some of the damage from the fire. You can also see the suspect's vehicle, again, that was used to ram the front doors. A few things that I do want to talk about here are not only the issues that they had at this church, but also bomb threats that were called in to other churches after this attack happened. Police believe those are copycat calls and not actually tied to the suspect. They said, in fact, that they believe the suspect did act alone. We also talked about those victims, 10 inside of this church. 4 of them have passed away. My colleague Priya Mann is over at the hospital here in Grand Blanc Township. It's a Henry Ford, a Genesis hospital, and she's been talking, Priya, you have been talking to people who not only were here yesterday, but also trying to get care. As of right now, it seems like those at the hospital are mostly stable, except for one maybe in critical condition.
Yeah, that's right. We've got 7 people in stable condition. 1 person is in critical condition. As you mentioned, there were 100 people inside of that church for service when the gunfire broke out. And now the search continues if there are there's anyone else left inside of that hospital. As you mentioned, it is still very fluid. There are people unaccounted for. What we know right now is that there are about 10 people who were injured and at least 4 people were killed. 2 of them, their bodies were discovered once that fire was put out. Of those who are surviving, they were rushed here to the hospital, and as word of the mass shooting spread, there has been an outpouring of support here in this community.
I had toys in my car, and there were kids sitting out here waiting.
Community members have been coming together, bringing food and drinks, offering rides, and trying to comfort families in any way they can.
I went and got toys, and then I just have been sitting and waiting and trying to see if there's anything I can do to help.
Sunday evening, local churches joined forces with people of all faiths praying for healing.
Tonight, there's just no titles. We're all just here to pray and ask God to help us.
A primary teacher recounted the horrifying moments after a gunman ran his truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and opened fire.
We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos.
When the carnage was over, not far from the scene, family members were reunited at the Trillium Theater. Church member Stephanie Giddings missed church to go to work on Sunday and says learning what happened was gut-wrenching.
We went out to go look at the church and pray on the grounds, but the street was blocked off, and my daughter was just baptized there, so it's hard.
And your heart just goes out to everyone directly impacted. Just want to show you, these are some nurses here who've got signs up, pray for our community, just pray. There's actually a nurses strike that's happening here, and these nurses have been on the picket line for about a month, since the start of September. You have the usual picket signs here today, but the nurses are saying that they've also got these signs here to honor the lives that were lost and the people who are working to save lives in there. And of course, we're hoping for a full recovery for everybody who was hospitalized. Again, this is going to be a very active investigation as the search continues for anyone else. Again, at last check, we have 10 people who were injured and at least 4 people were killed. Reporting live in Grand Blanc Township, I'm Priya Mann. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Priya, thank you very much for the update there outside of the hospital. Let's talk more about the suspect here, Thomas Jacob Samford, known better as Jake here in this community. Graduated from Goodrich High School in 2003. He is 40 years old, born in July 1985. Also served as a U.S. Marine in Operation Iraqi Freedom. Had a couple of awards and commendations there while serving. So none of his background points to any kind of motive. He does have some kind of criminal history. One arrest that we could find, 2011, arrested for felony burglary. There's a couple of updates here in terms of what we were talking about earlier, the other bomb threats. Also of note, his home in Burton is directly across the street from a Meijer, and that Meijer received a bomb threat call on Saturday. Some people are wondering if that was Samford using that as kind of like a dry run to test response times. I asked the Michigan State Police Lieutenant that yesterday, and she said that that is something that they are looking into as a possibility. One other note, there is likely going to be more updates here in the morning. Of course there will be. We're hearing a tentative time for a press conference. The next update will be at noon. When that happens, whatever time it actually happens, we're going to stream it here on Local 4 Live so you can watch and hear the updates as we get them. But as of right now, we're hearing noon. That certainly could change. We're going to take a break here on Local 4 Live. When we come back, Jason will handle things in the studio yet again, talking to Darnell about the next steps, what investigators are looking for, and what they're going to be doing to try to pinpoint a motive.
There you look at the scene this morning in Grand Blanc Township at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where nearly 100 FBI agents will be back out investigating, figuring out why a man drove his pickup truck, that truck there, into the front doors of the church, got out and started shooting with a rifle, and then moments later would use gasoline to set the entire building on fire. And the damage to that building is immense. The FBI calling it a targeted attack. 4 people confirmed dead, not including the shooter. 2 were killed during the shooting and 2 in the aftermath after the fire was put out. And again, we should point out that authorities say there are people who are still unaccounted for. We don't know how many. We're expected to learn a lot more details today as that investigation gets underway again today, and it's been going on through the night. We've seen the lights out there at the scene. And as we bring in Darnell Blackburn, former police officer, our crime safety expert here, we know like a scene that big, obviously, they're going to work as quick as they can throughout the night. Number one, there's people unaccounted for, but walk me through the next steps of this investigation that we should see.
Well, the next steps are to interview witnesses. And a witness, it may not be an eyewitness. They will definitely interview the people who were at the church, but family members of the suspect, acquaintances, even you got to think about this. Nick brought up that there's a Meijer that's directly across the street from him. They may check those cameras to see if he purchased the gasoline or the gasoline can or purchased some items from that Meijer's that were used in this attack. This is so widespreading, Jason, that the fact that you talked about 100 FBI agents. I mean, you're talking federal, state, local. The investigation, the agencies or the number of agencies that will be investigating this and them working together this is a tremendous undertaking. Even though the suspect is dead, this continues on and it's going to continue on until they can try to find a motive.
And you need all of those agents as well as the local law enforcement simply to run down all the leads. And we haven't even touched on the online part of this. Just in looking around this morning myself, I've seen several things that I thought, wow, people that say they've had interactions that lead them to believe what the motive would be here. Now police need to run down all of those leads and find out if they're legitimate or not legitimate to be able to move forward.
Absolutely, and that's something that's important too. I think we talked about this but a little bit earlier, but I want to highlight that, the fact that if you see something, say something, or suspect something, and again, it doesn't mean that police aren't going to just come take somebody away. But if somebody is making these kind of these far off gestures or thoughts, or it doesn't hurt to kind of put them on the radar.
And and we heard a woman say something to that effect, where if I had to make a list of 10 people, he would have been on it for sure. Now that's something that you're saying that's a red flag if you've ever seen it.
Definitely a red flag, and it's again just bringing that to the attention of law enforcement. I mean, or even maybe a family member. You say, hey, what kind of conversations is this guy having? What do you guys talk about at home? And it couldn't hurt. It could only have helped or maybe mitigated this. And this situation is just so extensive.
Now I've sat here and we've talked about far too many times after something like this, but sometimes we talk about how to handle ourselves like on the roads or in certain situations. Ignore that. Just you want to extricate yourself from something. And when people hear that enough, but you see red flags, I don't want to get involved. I'm sure you're kind of caught in no man's land there. When do you report it versus when do I want to keep my nose out of someone's business, or else they find out and they get upset and now they come after you.
And that is something that, as individuals, you have to weigh out. Of course, being a former law enforcement officer, we want the help.
Yeah.
And we don't want to put anyone in harm's way, obviously. And you can be anonymous when you're reporting some things, and you can request to be anonymous, but we definitely want
anonymity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the key. Absolutely. That's the key in this type of situation. I mean, if we could have mitigated this by somebody saying something, look, we're all today, we look at this and we've made this way too normal. It's way too normal. So if you see something, say something and help.
Anonymous tips, that's a good way to put it. And if you are uneasy about reporting someone in that, take advantage of that. Absolutely. Thanks, Darnell. So that gets you up to speed and just kind of in the mind of where police and law enforcement are on this. That QR code, bottom left there, will get you to all of our coverage on this. Everything we know about the Grand Blanc Township church attack. Latest info, plus we'll be posting all of the updates that we get later today. We are back in just a minute with a check of your forecast. Plus, we're going to get a live look at the Capitol in D.C. I know sometimes I have to be specific about which government could be in danger of shutting down this week. Well, both of them. We're going to tell you where negotiations stand right after this. Let's take another live look at Grand Blanc Township this morning. That's right outside the church, Latter-day Saints, where this attack happened Sunday morning. FBI investigators still trying to find the motive or piece together what led this attacker, that's his pickup there that you see there, to drive that into the church, start shooting, and then set the place on fire. And police say he had other means of attacking when he was there, finding IEDs in that truck, which is what led to them searching so cautiously at his home in Burton, which was about 15 minutes away. When you take a look up from above, you'll see what's left of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, an incredibly big complex there that is a majority destroyed because of this fire. Police say the suspect was a 40-year-old man who lived just 9 miles from the scene, we say, as we mentioned, in Burton. 2 people died in the shooting. 2 more found after the fire was put out. And right now we are hearing there are still some people who were unaccounted for, although we don't know the full number. Again, the motive still unknown, although we have heard from some sound bites from people who said he had talked about groups in an unacceptable way in the past. Support continues today for the entire community there. The Red Cross working to reconnect families. Today and tomorrow, counselors will be out there offering resources available at the Henry Ford Genesis Health Club. Wednesday through Friday, support will be available at the Grand Blanc Senior Center. And if you want to find those, we put all those details at clickondetroit.com along with our extensive coverage that we have there. Let's get a check of some other news headlines this morning as we take you to the nation's capital. President Donald Trump said to meet with the top 4 congressional leaders today in a meeting that could determine whether the federal government shuts down this week. Funding set to run out midnight on Tuesday into Wednesday unless the president and lawmakers can reach a deal. Democrats are pushing for an extension to Obamacare funding, and they also want to roll back cuts to Medicaid. Republicans accusing Democrats of using partisan demands to hold up the process. On Wall Street, there's a live look at the futures board, and that's looking mighty fine, coming off a good day on Friday. President Trump warning of widespread layoffs if the government does have to shut down, but right now the stock market not reacting negatively to that news. It is trying to bounce back after a losing week, but as we said, Friday was pretty good on Wall Street. Investors are now focusing on the jobs report from September that is about to be out this week and what it'll do to the economy. That will help the Fed decide if rates will see another cut when they meet at the end of October. Ashley Bearsee's back. Look at this. Ta-da! Just talking about the forecast all morning long. I was waiting for you to say, if you're going to get a car wash, man, oh man.
Oh, that's true. This is a
got some time.
car wash forecast. And I'm letting you know, air conditioning likely on again this afternoon.
I have not taken the hard top off my Jeep at all this summer. I feel like this is my last chance to do it. It's kind of a hassle. I don't have one of the easy ones.
Yeah.
It's a two-man job. And every time I try and get my wife to help, it lasts about 5 seconds. I can't lift this thing.
It's like it's just going to be like a shoe-in for an argument.
I know it. Yeah. I know it. I have to call
your favorite neighbor. Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. This weekend would be a great weekend to do it as well. We're going to take a little dip this week, but then we'll warm back up for the first weekend of October. So those September highs recapping. We've had 16 days officially above average. We will tag on 2 more when it's all said and done. So 18 days in the month of September. So more than half of the month coming in above average. In fact, only 5 of those days we have been below average. I think the wiggle room for this is about 2 degrees. So those days that you see in gray are within a 2-degree differential of what would be the average high on that date. So right now we are waking up in the 50s, some still upper 40s out there, 49 in Ann Arbor, 48 by Port Huron, but a lot more 50s on the map, and we will quickly rise thanks to all that sunshine. So 81 the forecasted high. Tomorrow we might be just a degree or so shy of what would be 80, but I do think some of the areas could see it. I mean, we have plenty of sunshine in the forecast, and then we will drop to more seasonal territory for just the first 2 days of October. And then we're right back going into the more summer-like heat for the weekend. So your out the door forecast, 81, plenty of sunshine, kind of just a repeat of what we had yesterday. And then the puck drops at 7 o'clock at LCA tonight. So if you're going to be taking in some hockey, I know it's hard to think that it's already NHL season, but it's here. Feels more like, the middle of baseball season, but we do have October baseball that we'll be talking about. But sliding into the 60s by the time we get into the end of the game, leaving LCA and walking to your car. Don't have to dodge any rain. In fact, next weather maker, bone dry. I don't even have an isolated chance to show you over the next 7 days. So it's going to be a dry stretch. You have to get out there, water the flowers, water the grass if you're still trying to hold on to it. I know that, some folks have been doing some fertilizing, reseeding. Jason Cole.
It's going well, by the way.
Okay, good.
Don't mock me. I was patting myself on the back all day yesterday going, this is really coming in nicely. Look at me go.
There you go. So hopefully, you can get the sprinkler on a couple more times before everything burns up by the end of the week. So low temperatures.
Twice a day.
Yeah, back into the 50s and 40s tonight. And then come tomorrow, we're flirting with 80 once again. So let's track the tropics real quickly because Humberto's still Category 4 hurricane, but it's the tropical storm that's just to the west of that, skirting the edge of the Atlantic seaboard. I mean, right the Atlantic edge of Florida, I should say, and that's going to then push east. So it will bring some tropical storm force winds and some higher surf to that area, but no direct landfall, which is great. 7-day forecast, 80s and sunshine for the upcoming weekend.
Hurricanes that come close but don't hit, take it from a kid who grew up in Florida a lot of the time, that's good surfing weather.
Oh, I bet. Some good waves.
Great waves and very little danger. Ashley, we appreciate it, as always. As we head to break here, we do still have some updates to get you caught up on, including the latest from Grand Blanc Township as we take another look there at the front of the church where investigators trying to piece together a motive from the man who was driving that truck that attacked that church yesterday. We're right back in a moment.
Hi, everybody. Nick Monticelli here, again, standing in front of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township. I'll step out of the way so you can see what we have been looking at all morning long. I've been watching dozens and dozens and dozens of local and federal investigators driving through. In fact, there's another 4 vehicles that just drove through. Many of these are federal agents that have come in to assist with the investigation, and we still know that there are fire crews working inside of the church to see if there are any more victims that they could find as well. It has been a challenge, not only here, but it was a challenge yesterday at the suspect's home, at Jake Sanford's home, because they were concerned about explosives at that home. Throughout the day today, you're going to see more investigators showing up here to try to piece together exactly what happened. Right now, we're seeing another 1, 2, 3. Some of these are DNR officers. In fact, one of the first officers that engaged and shot and killed the suspect was a DNR officer that showed up here on scene. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that just showed up, and this will be the scene for the majority of the day as they go piece by piece, inch by inch over that church, looking not only for more evidence and some clues, and of course the FBI working to see if they can figure out a motive and why this happened in the first place. We've heard there's going to be a 12 o'clock press conference at 12 p.m. That's a tentative time that could change, but as of right now, that's what we have been told. So hopefully we'll get some more information as to what investigators found overnight and if we found anything in terms of more victims or anything more on a motive, and as they dig into the background of this shooter, Jake Sanford. We're going to take a short break here on Local 4 Live. When we come back, we're going to kind of press reset, start our show over again here at 9 a.m. You're also going to hear some extended interviews from people who knew the suspect and say they are not surprised by what happened.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hi, everybody. Nick Monticelli coming to you from Grand Blanc Township as we continue to follow the breaking news that started yesterday at 10:25 as a shooter attacked the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is right here behind me. I do want to show you a map to give you a better idea of where everything is here. So the church is here in Grand Blanc Township. The shooter's home is in Burton, which is about 9 miles from where I'm standing right now. That shooter is 40-year-old Thomas Jake Sanford. Most people knew him as Jake, even though that was his middle name. I want to show you this video here showing you how bad the fire was at the church, destroying the church when everything started again at 10:25 yesterday morning. Sanford used his silver pickup truck and ran through the front doors of the church. He also used gasoline to light it on fire and used an assault rifle to shoot into the crowd. There were hundreds of people there for their Sunday morning service, although only we have 10 victims. 2 people died from gunshot wounds. 2 others were found in the fire because they were trapped in that fire that was set by Sanford. The shooting again, 10:25 in the morning. Officers were there 30 seconds after that, and then about 8 minutes after that is when they encountered Sanford in the back parking lot of the church and shot and killed him. Inside of his pickup truck, there were also 3 IEDs found. So because of that, they were very careful with his home in Burton, and that's the next piece of video that I'd like to show you. You can see here that the Michigan State Police Bomb Squad was called out, and they used every tool they had. Helicopters, drones, robots, armed vehicles, canines. They threw everything at it just in case there was an explosive in his home, in a camper that was on the driveway, or in other properties or other buildings on that property. It took almost all day. They were there from around 11 o'clock in the morning till about 9:30 at night. That's when the FBI took over and started their investigation, looking through the home to see what kind of evidence there might be, if there might be anything that could point them to a motive, to better understand what happened here yesterday in Grand Blanc Township. Going back to the church, we know again there were hundreds of people inside the church, and the police chief of the township told us yesterday that there were people, church goers, that were using their bodies to shield children. Otherwise, there could have been more victims.
I'd also like to acknowledge the heroism of not only the first responders, but the people who were inside that church at the time. They were shielding the children who were also present within the church, moving them to safety. Just hundreds of people just practicing their faith. Just extreme courage, brave, and that's the type of community that we are.
All right. So back out here live again, a lot of acts of heroism inside of that church as it was not only being attacked by gunfire but also lit on fire at the exact same time. A lot of today's investigation and updates will focus around the shooter, the who, the why, if we can ever understand a motive. That's something the FBI is working on. However, our Ty Steele met up with somebody yesterday, a woman and her daughter who actually babysat for Sanford and his wife and their children, and they unfortunately were not surprised.
How do you mourn the death of someone who did something so terrible?
Shock and sadness from longtime family friends of suspected Grand Blanc LDS mass shooter Thomas Jacob Sanford, who went by Jake, but not utter surprise.
If you asked me, out of everybody I know, to pick 10 people you think might do something a little like this, I wouldn't not pick him, and I hate saying that.
Kara Pattison shared these photos of Jake, who she described as a fun-loving family guy, but also a guy that harbored unkind feelings towards certain groups.
He definitely talked about groups of people in ways that weren't acceptable.
And Kara says she and her daughter had a scary and bizarre encounter with him 48 hours before the mass shooting in his truck as they were walking. This is a photo from right after that incident.
We started across, and the truck gunned its engine and came at us, and I blocked my daughter, saved you, and we jumped back, and then the window rolled down, and it was Jake, and he was laughing. He's like, oh, got you guys, you know. And
was that normal behavior for him?
I mean, he'd never pretended to run us over before, so no, no, it wasn't normal behavior.
Kara's 16-year-old daughter Lydia used to babysit for Jake's son, Brantley, and is completely shattered by the news of his suspected involvement in this mass shooting.
I was devastated. Like, I didn't think someone that I knew and loved would do this to people.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
It's devastating. It's so bad.
Lydia can't get Jake's family or the victims out of her head.
I don't know. I love Brantley so much, and I feel so bad for the wife, the son, because I can't imagine what they're going through right now.
Met that woman and her daughter yesterday just outside of the church. As we were mentioning all morning, there are still unaccounted people inside. They hope might not be inside the church, but again, that's something that the FBI and Grand Lake Township Police are working on. Priya Mann is over at the hospital where there are other victims. Again, a total of 10. 2 killed by gunfire, 2 by actual fire, and then we have the rest who are being treated at the hospital, and that's where Priya is. Hey, Priya.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, we're at Henry Ford Genesis Hospital, and as you mentioned, there were 10 people who were injured, 4 people killed. 2 of those, their bodies were discovered in the fire. The rest who survived were rushed here to the hospital. 7 are in stable condition. 1 is in critical condition. As you mentioned, there were about 100 people attending church service when gunfire broke out, and as word of the mass shooting spread, there has been an outpouring of community support. We still don't know the identities of the victims, but people here are coming out offering whatever they can to help.
We went out to go look at the church and pray on the grounds, but the street was blocked off.
Not far from the scene of a horrific mass shooting, family members were reunited at the Trillium Theater. Church member Stephanie Giddings missed church to go to work on Sunday and says learning what happened was gut-wrenching.
And my daughter was just baptized there, so it's hard.
A primary teacher recounted the horrifying moments after a gunman ran his truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township and opened fire.
We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos.
In an interview with NBC, Paula Masser says the shooter, identified by police as Thomas Jacob Sanford, shot at her and other church members as they tried to escape.
I got in a car with friends. I got my friend in a car, and we got in front, and we were getting ready to leave, and the shooter shot at the car. 3 bullets hit the car.
As the community grapples with the senseless shooting on Sunday evening, local churches came together with people of all faiths praying for healing.
You know, tonight, there's just no titles. We're all just here to pray and ask God to help us.
Yeah, and there's a lot of memorial services and vigils that are going to be in the works in the coming days. Out here live at the hospital, there's actually a nurses' strike that's been happening for about the past month, and they have all the picket signs that you would normally expect, except for today. There's a lot of folks here with signs. They've got hearts. They're saying praying for the victims, pray for our community. You can see some of those nurses crossing the street right now, and a lot of those signs just symbolizing how this community is trying to come together in different ways. And again, coming up in our next half hour, we're going to be talking to some folks about the different kinds of donations that they're doing, including toys. There were a lot of children here who witnessed something so traumatic, and folks are trying to bring whatever they can, whatever kind of support they can for some of the youngest survivors. Of course, we'll have more on that coming up in just a little bit. But reporting live here at the hospital in Grand Blanc Township, I'm Priya Mann. Nick, I'll send it back to you.
Priya, that's a great point, talking about the trauma that those children have gone through and what they're going to need to try to start to cope and move through this grieving process here. There is so much more to talk about in terms of the unaccounted victims and who might still be missing right now. Also, the bomb threats that happened at other churches after this, and a potential dry run at a Meijer that the Michigan State Police is looking into. We're going to talk about all of that throughout later here on Local 4 Live, but we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, Rhonda is going to be in studio and a conversation with Darnell Blackburn, his expertise from being a police officer about what the investigation looks like right now and what they are looking and focusing on in the next 12 and 24 hours. Local 4 Live. We'll be right back.
Welcome back here on Local 4 Live. I'm Rhonda Walker, and you are looking live at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township after that deadly mass shooting yesterday. It happened during Sunday services after the shooting, a fire that completely destroyed the building. Right now, we know at least 4 people are confirmed dead. 2 killed in the shooting, 2 others were found inside of the church after the fire was extinguished. Investigators say that they are still looking for other victims in the rubble of that church. They have not confirmed the number of people that are unaccounted for, but they are not saying just how many, but we do know that there are still people that are unaccounted for that they are searching for. So our hearts As we join you now here at 9:14 this morning, nearly 24 hours since this tragedy unfolded. Our hearts are with these families that are impacted. Both Nick and Priya are remaining there in Grand Blanc and Grand Blanc Township with that part of our coverage. But we've been talking with Darnell, spent many years in law enforcement, our crime and safety expert, to help take us inside of the investigation now, because I think sometimes people think, well, the police officers shot and killed the suspect. And so that part of the investigation doesn't go anywhere in terms of his background or anything like that because he's gone. But truly, you do need to make those connections. That part of the investigation is really, really important.
Yeah, the investigation continues because they need to figure out the why. That is the biggest thing, is trying to figure out the motive. So with that being said, you know, we saw investigators. Nick was on scene yesterday when they had the bomb squad at the suspect's home, and you know they couldn't even go into the home to do a search warrant until they made sure that was safe. So what they're doing right now, law enforcement is talking to witnesses, eyewitnesses who are the ones who were on the scene at the church. And they're speaking to family members. They're speaking to neighbors. Anybody who came in contact with this suspect, they are talking to them to try to get to the link to determine what is the why.
Right. And if there is any link to this church or members of that church. We know that there were 100 people that were in the church at the time that this happened, families, adults, children. As this investigation continues, we've noticed that the names of the victims have not been released. Those that were killed have not been released. The number of people still missing have not been released. Police must know the answer to these questions. Why aren't they releasing that?
That stuff to try to protect the family members more so, and until they can confirm, you know, there are people missing, but until they actually physically find, unfortunately, a body or confirm that someone is alive, they're not going to do that. More so out of respect for the family members as well too. So it's one of those things where you have to do your job, but you want to do it as respectfully as you possibly can, and so. The police are talking to these family members. They're talking to everyone who's affiliated with again, that could be affiliated with this. The fact of the matter is that this is such a unique situation because you have typically a shooter.
Yeah.
You know, they come with a weapon, with an assault rifle. Well,
unfortunately, you know, when we've seen these mass shootings that we have become all too common in our country, you're right. You see someone in a mass shooting is a shooting. This is a former military, a member of the military, fought in an Iraq war and brought other elements along with just an assault rifle.
Yeah, and that's what makes this even more complex to investigate from a law enforcement perspective. Law enforcement is going to have, you'll have the FBI, you'll have the ATF probably, you're going to have the local police, the state police, but you have a situation where you had somebody bring a rifle, you had them use their car as a weapon, you had them use an accelerant to start a fire, and they found explosives. So, I mean, the ATF is there for the explosives. Right. The FBI is there because of the gravity of this whole thing. This is going to be a massive investigation.
And of course, firefighters.
Firefighters, absolutely.
And you've also mentioned when they went to the home how meticulous and safe that they had to be because that they're were the type of weaponry that was there. They were concerned that the place could blow up. Absolutely. And that's, I mean, law enforcement takes those precautions normally, but when you know for a fact that this person already had these types of things and they're looking to cause as mass casualties, to harm as many people as they possibly can, you have to be extra careful, extra vigilant. So this is just a process that's going to continue for quite some time until law enforcement can determine a motive, if they can determine a motive. Right, but also just to maybe try to mitigate or stop this from ever happening.
Absolutely, that is one of the biggest things. And you know, as we talk about that just for a second, the idea that we want people to not fear, but unfortunately we live in a time where you have to plan. You have to have a plan. You have to know where the exits are. You have to prepare for something that could possibly happen, because these soft targets are what people are looking. The more vulnerable that a situation is, the more apt that a bad person wants to harm those people. So those are things that we have to look at as a society to make sure that we can try to mitigate it ourselves.
And we do keep trying to talk about the preparation, but this gives so many people so much anxiety and fear. It's just growing throughout our country that, you know, I mean, I was having dinner with my husband last night. We were out, but I was talking to him about looking at exits, and it is always on my mind because we talk about it so much, because we cover these incidents so much. But it makes you feel like you're just in a state of worry all the time, whether it's just for your own safety, your children when they're not with you.
Yeah. This is something that, again, you don't want to have it on the forefront of your mind, but unfortunately we have to prepare and plan for emergency, just like any other emergency situation.
Right.
I think unfortunately, if we can normalize this and say, just like a fire, we got to be prepared for this.
And also, if things seem suspicious about other people and their behavior, that you don't just ignore it, that you take action, that you notify whenever possible.
Absolutely.
There's obviously so much that we don't know as this investigation continues, but were there any signs that may have been missed? Was there any way to stop this? And I'm sure that's part of why that investigation is so important.
Yeah, it is. And one thing that I want to highlight with regard to that notification, you can notify anonymously. So make sure, again, if you see something, say something.
Right.
We had a soundbite, and I think we're going to run it at some point, if we haven't, from a neighbor who said, if anybody I would expect to do something like this,
it would be that person. But then what do you do with that information? If you think that somebody has the potential to harm people, but they haven't done it yet, what's your recourse?
As a law enforcement officer, it's always, it's our responsibility to filter that out. You call us and let us know and let us deal with it. At least put it on the radar.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with putting something on the radar.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's important.
All right. Appreciate your perspective. I know you've been kind of working around the clock for us. I appreciate you hanging out. Make sure that you stay with Local 4 and click on Detroit.com all day. We are going to stay there in Grand Blanc as the investigation continues into this deadly church shooting. Also over on clickondetroit.com, more information about support services for families impacted. And if you have any tips about this person, this investigation, anything you think may be helpful, you can contact the FBI by calling 800-CALL-FBI. Or you can go online to the URL that you see there, tips.fbi.gov. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with your forecast, plus some local headlines that we are following, including an important day in court for two men accused of posing as DTE workers. Also, the first steps in the murder trial of Hussein Murray, who was killed in his own home last year. Welcome back here at 924. We want to get to some of the headlines that we are following for you today. Jury selection is now underway in the trial of two men charged with murdering a man inside of a Rochester Hills home last October. Carlos Hernandez and Joshua Zuazo are accused of posing as DTE workers to get into Hussein Murray's home. Investigators say that the suspects told the Hamtramck jeweler that they were checking for a gas leak in his house before murdering him in the basement. The men are also accused of tying up Murray's wife while in the home. Jury selection is expected to last 2 days. And heading to Lansing, where Michigan lawmakers are tying up loose ends to avoid a state government shutdown. A tentative deal was reached late Thursday between both sides, but there's only 2 days left for Governor Whitmer to sign a budget. Both sides say that the deal does aim to lower costs for Michiganders, reduce waste, and also increase government efficiency. State lawmakers are expected to vote tomorrow. If they don't pass something, there will be a state government shutdown starting at midnight on Wednesday. So hopefully they're able to get everything wrapped up between now and then. Meanwhile, it is a beautiful day outside. We see blue skies over the Detroit skyline. Let's check in with Ashley with a look at our forecast.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
It has been an incredibly warm September, and we will round out the month on the same note here, because as we scour the calendar here, we did start off on a cooler note where we had 5 days in the first full week of September that came in below average, but the rest of the month has been the complete opposite for the most part. And so right now, 16 days where we've been above average, and today and tomorrow we'll tag on 2 more. So when it's all said and done, 18 of the 30 days above average. And then, of course, you can see the gray boxes here would indicate near average temperature. So it's been a warm one nonetheless. Our high temperature forecast, well, we remain about 10 degrees above average heading into tomorrow to round out the month. But then as we start October, a little more seasonal. We'll be right around that 70-degree mark. However, it's a brief cool down as we have a warmer weekend ahead once again. Day planner for the rest of the afternoon, well, we'll be right around 81 degrees for the high, and then we will be sliding into the 60s once we get, I would say, past sunset. And so pretty clear skies, and with the clear skies, our temperatures will slide just a bit. So if you're heading to LCA tonight for the Red Wings preseason game against the Penguins, it's a 7 o'clock puck drop. So dinner across the downtown area. Maybe you're going to be doing some patio dining. It'll be warm, upper 70s, right around 80. But as you're leaving the game, a little more comfortable, mid-60s. No rain gear needed, clear skies, because that next weather maker remains dry. Rain chances next to none. I mean, for the foreseeable future, we are going to be dry over the next 7 days. And so now let's recap where we should be for the month, and that should be just over 3 inches of precipitation. We're shy of 2, so we definitely have more than an inch deficit. Last year at this point, we had an even bigger deficit. So fingers crossed that we still get to see some nice color change as the next few weeks progress, but the dry and warmer conditions probably not helping us as much. High pressure has pushed off to the east, but we will continue to be tracking more tropical weather down by Florida. There has been a hurricane, a major hurricane, an Umberto that we've been talking about for days. That doesn't make direct landfall, but as far as Imelda, that will continue to bring rain and tropical storm force winds along the Atlantic coastline of Florida. Bring it back closer to home tonight, pretty similar to what we woke up to this morning. So we'll be on either side of 50 degrees by tomorrow morning. But high temperatures tomorrow, maybe just a degree or 2 shy of what we hit today. So likely upper 70s, flirting with 80 in some of our suburbs across southeastern Michigan. So the 7-day forecast, not a whole lot to show you as far as what's falling from the sky. I mean, we might have a few clouds mixing in here and there, but we'll start the first 2 days of October in the low 70s, but then we warm up, and this upcoming weekend will be much like this last weekend. Sunshine with temperatures in the 80s.
All right, beautiful forecast, Ashley. Thank you. Here at 928, we want to go back out to Grand Blanc, where Nick Monticelli joins us live as we are continuing our coverage of the tragic shooting and everything that's happening with the investigation in the aftermath of what happened there at the Church of Latter-day Saints. Nick?
Rhonda, thank you. When we come back after this break, we are going to take a minute-by-minute look at exactly how things unfolded here in Grand Blanc Township at the church and at the suspect's home in Burton, about 9 miles away. We'll also be talking about other bomb threats that came into other churches and a potential dry run that the MSP is investigating to see if the suspect had something to do with that. All of that plus a check-in with Priya Mann to see what's happening at the hospital when Local 4 Live returns.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hi everybody, Nick Monticelli here in Grand Blanc Township at the site of this breaking news, the attack on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in Grand Blanc Township. I'll step out of the way. You can see since we've been on the air since 4:30 this morning, the number of investigators and support teams out here has quadrupled, running out of room in the parking lots now, parking on the side of the road as federal agencies, state agencies, local agencies continue their investigation inside of that church there. There's so much to unpack in terms of what happened and how it happened, but we do know it was at 10:25 yesterday morning that the shooter used his pickup truck to ram through the front door of the church, not only lighting the church on fire, but then shooting into the crowd.
We have an active shooter at the church and PD's on scene saying the building is also on fire.
10:25 a.m. is when Thomas Jacob Sanford started attacking the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, ramming his pickup truck through the front entrance, shooting into the crowd, and using an accelerant, likely gasoline, to light the church on fire.
I need manpower up here ASAP. I have people trapped in the building. Repeat, people trapped in the building.
Hundreds were inside the church for Sunday morning service. Police were there within 30 seconds of the shooting, and they shot and killed Sanford 8 minutes after the shooting started in the back parking lot. Inside, 10 victims were hurt. 2 were killed by gunshots, 2 more by the fire, and the rest are in critical or stable condition. And the Grand Blanc police chief says there could have been more.
The people who were inside that church at the time, they were shielding the children who were also present within the church.
Police also found 3 IEDs inside Sanford's truck. So at his home in Burton, about 9 miles from the church, the MSP bomb squad was methodical, using drones, helicopters, robots, armored vehicles, even canines to search his house and property. Neighbors looked on, horrified.
It's pretty sad that, people lost their lives, because you never know nowadays. When you walk out your front door, that you may never come back.
Then the FBI took over, combing through every square inch of his home, looking for anything that might point to a motive. Our Ty Steele talked to a friend of Sanford's who is not surprised.
If you asked me, out of everybody I know, to pick 10 people you think might do something a little like this, I wouldn't not pick him. And I hate saying that. He definitely talked about groups of people in ways that weren't acceptable.
Back out here live looking at the church and all of the investigators. In fact, you can see a group of them walking now down the sidewalk here right in front of the church itself. We've been talking about the timeline, but also about the things that happened kind of during the attack as well. Right after the attack, there were multiple bomb threats that were called into multiple different churches in the area. So the Michigan State Police, Burton, Grand Blanc Township, many of them were kind of diverting resources around to check on those bomb threats as they were coming in. Also of note is that there is a Meijer directly across the street from Sanford's home in Burton on Atherton. There was a bomb threat called into that Meijer on Saturday. Some people are wondering if that was Sanford doing like a dry run to test response time. We asked the Michigan State Police that, and Lieutenant yesterday said that is something they are looking into. Now, all of that is not as important as the victims and how they are doing. Again, 10 of them in total as of right now. 4 passed away, 2 from gunshots, 2 from the fire, the fire itself, excuse me. Priya Mann is live outside of the hospital on this Monday morning to give us an update on how they are doing and how the community is starting to come together.
Hey, Nick. Yeah, we are live here at Henry Ford Genesis Hospital. There were 8 victims rushed here to the hospital. 7 are in stable condition. 1 remains in critical condition. There were about 100 people inside of that church for service on Sunday when that gunman opened fire. And as word of this mass shooting spread, there has been an outpouring of support, from donations to people just dropping by to say a prayer at the site of this shooting. And those donations and that support are signals here in this community that no one is alone.
We went out to go look at the church and pray on the grounds, but the street was blocked off.
Not far from the scene of a horrific mass shooting, family members were reunited at the Trillium Theater. Church member Stephanie Giddings missed church to go to work on Sunday and says learning what happened was gut-wrenching.
And my daughter was just baptized there, so it's hard.
A primary teacher recounted the horrifying moments after a gunman ran his truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township and opened fire.
We heard a big bang and it blew the doors in the church, and then everything after that was chaos.
In an interview with NBC, Paula Masser says the shooter, identified by police as Thomas Jacob Sanford, shot at her and other church members as they tried to escape.
I got in a car with friends. I got my friend in a car, and we got in front, and we were getting ready to leave, and the shooter shot at the car. 3 bullets hit the car.
As the community grapples with the senseless shooting on Sunday evening, local churches came together with people of all faiths praying for healing.
You know, tonight, there's just no titles. We're all just here to pray and ask God to help us.
And when it comes to communities coming together, community members here, just take a look at the signs. You can see pray for our community. If we zoom out here outside of the hospital, nurses are actually on strike. And up and down here along this road, they've got tents set up and they've been on strike for about a month. And they have all the picket signs you would normally expect, except today they have all of these signs for the victims and their family members. They say today is about honoring those lives lost and the people who are fighting to survive in the hospital right now. And coming up tonight, we're going to be hearing from some of these nurses. We'll have much more tonight at 11. Reporting live this morning, I'm Priya Mann. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Priya, thank you very much for that update, and thank you for letting us know how those victims are doing, which, again, the most important part in all this, to keep track of them. I just talked to a sergeant here at Grand Blanc Township PD saying they are having a meeting shortly to determine what their steps are in terms of a press conference later. His best guess was a press conference at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so that's a good indication of what we're going to learn and when we are going to learn it. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about what the next steps are, what investigators are looking at inside of this church, and what they still have to do to try to determine what the motive could be.
Oh, welcome back, everybody, here at 9:39 here on Local 4 Live. This is a live view right now of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township. We know about 100 FBI agents are going to be back out investigating and trying to figure out why a man drove his vehicle into the church during services, started shooting, and then set the entire building on fire. The FBI calling this a targeted attack. 4 people died, 2 during the shooting, 2 were found after the fire was extinguished. And as we've been talking about all morning, there are still more people missing right now. The law enforcement not giving us those details on the number of people that they are still working to recover and find. But in the meantime, of course, this is a conversation that every family is having, every individual is having about the prevalence of mass shootings, the fact that they can happen at anywhere, at any time, and the vulnerability that we feel depending on where we go.
Yeah, you know, we talked a little bit offset about being parents. You know, being a parent of this and, you know, school shootings, I mean, anywhere. So I want to talk a little bit about how you can plan or maybe prepare as best as possible for something like this, or to try to minimize your family being victims of this. And again, we don't want you to just be fearful of living, but you just have to have these real conversations. And so, you know, speaking of a church specifically, if you're in a church service, sitting by the exit, sitting in the back of the church so that you can watch what's going on. And even though, you know, most churches, people come in through the back way, get up every now and then and just maybe walk around and look in the back vestibule area of the church. If you're at a movie theater, sitting next to the exit there and having this conversation with your family, as tough as it is just a real thing. And so you got to be aware of that, and also looking and seeing if you see something strange.
Yeah.
If you see something strange, say something about it. If someone is acting erratically, don't say it's not my business or it's not my place.
Right.
No, you say something to someone about it so that, you know, it could just be something minor, but at least you have said something, and now you feel better about addressing that and putting somebody on the radar.
And I think it's important to remind people that law enforcement wants you to do that. I know that I have made more contacts to my city police than I have ever. If I see a suspicious car, if someone is going door to door, you know, it could be a salesperson, it could really be, you know, a utility worker, but it may not be. I always call now. Yeah. So I think that vigilance, that awareness of something doesn't seem right. And as you said, I mean, unfortunately, we do have to be more prepared because this can happen anywhere at any time. So not just us individually looking around at our surroundings and suspicious people, but businesses need to be prepared. The security levels need to be stepped up. You need to invest in having security cards at your business.
Absolutely. And, you know, a lot of places of worship have that. In this situation, I mean, we talked about the 4 different things that this individual used as a weapon, and you know, some things you don't expect, but at least you have some sort of preparation or some sort of barrier to try to prevent this from happening. And again, as law enforcement, we want you to reach out to us.
Right.
It's our job. Let us sort it out.
Yeah.
Let us look into it. Let us investigate it. You don't want to be the person that doesn't call when you see something and then something tragic like this occurs. And so it's very important for you guys to reach out. And you can do it anonymously. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're going to go, hey, your neighbor said this. We're going to go and contact them and say, hey, what's going on?
It's up to all of us to be vigilant, and if we see something that just doesn't seem right, to notify someone and not keep it to ourselves. And I know you were alluding also to the fact that this was a unique mass shooting, if there's such a thing. The fact that it wasn't just someone that showed up and started shooting at this building. They used the car as a weapon. We've seen that before, where vehicles have driven through crowds. We have a vehicle driving through the building. We have guns, and then explosives and a fire.
That
it really made it difficult for anybody to survive.
It did, and that is just, I mean, it's a whole nother wrinkle. The thing that we want to definitely talk about is the response time from the police, the fire department, all the agencies that they did all they could to mitigate many other people.
30 seconds is what Nick has been reporting, was how fast that response was from the 911 call, which speaks volumes about the preparation law enforcement has as well, because they're training for this all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is something that, I mean, they responded. They minimized as many people as they could being hurt, and they eliminated the threat so that some other people can be as safe as possible.
All right. Well, Darnell, appreciate you putting on your crime and safety hat to just give us some perspective that, and also as the investigation continues. So we will continue to follow that and keep you updated on clickondetroit.com as we get more information. But our thoughts and our prayers are certainly with all of the families impacted in that entire Grand Blanc and Grand Blanc Township community that is mourning today and for the foreseeable future. We're going to switch gears on the other side of this quick break, and we're going to be talking about a construction company with roots here in Detroit that have spanned 100 years, how workers at Barton Mallow are able to earn while you learn. Leaders with the company are going to be joining us here in studio to talk about some opportunities in the skilled trades. Stay with us.
Now, forewarned weather with Exact Track 4D.
It has been an incredibly warm September, and we will round out the month on the same note here, because as we scour the calendar here, we did start off on a cooler note where we had 5 days in the first full week of September that came in below average, but the rest of the month has been the complete opposite for the most part. And so right now, 16 days where we've been above average, and today and tomorrow we'll tag on 2 more. So when it's all said and done, 18 of the 30 days above average. And then, of course, you can see the gray boxes here would indicate near average temperature. So it's been a warm one nonetheless. Our high temperature forecast, well, we remain about 10 degrees above average heading into tomorrow to round out the month. But then as we start October, a little more seasonal. We'll be right around that 70-degree mark. However, it's a brief cool down as we have a warmer weekend ahead once again. Day planner for the rest of the afternoon, well, we'll be right around 81 degrees for the high, and then we will be sliding into the 60s once we get, I would say, past sunset. And so pretty clear skies, and with the clear skies, our temperatures will slide just a bit. So if you're heading to LCA tonight for the Red Wings preseason game against the Penguins, it's a 7 o'clock puck drop. So dinner across the downtown area. Maybe you're going to be doing some patio dining. It'll be warm, upper 70s, right around 80. But as you're leaving the game, a little more comfortable, mid-60s. No rain gear needed, clear skies, because that next weather maker remains dry. Rain chances next to none. I mean, for the foreseeable future, we are going to be dry over the next 7 days. And so now let's recap where we should be for the month, and that should be just over 3 inches of precipitation. We're shy of 2, so we definitely have more than an inch deficit. Last year at this point, we had an even bigger deficit. So fingers crossed that we still get to see some nice color change as the next few weeks progress, but the dry and warmer conditions probably not helping us as much. High pressure has pushed off to the east, but we will continue to be tracking more tropical weather down by Florida. There has been a hurricane, a major hurricane, an Umberto that we've been talking about for days. That doesn't make direct landfall, but as far as Imelda, that will continue to bring rain and tropical storm force winds along the Atlantic coastline of Florida. Bring it back closer to home tonight, pretty similar to what we woke up to this morning. So we'll be on either side of 50 degrees by tomorrow morning. But high temperatures tomorrow, maybe just a degree or 2 shy of what we hit today. So likely upper 70s, flirting with 80 in some of our suburbs across southeastern Michigan. So the 7-day forecast, not a whole lot to show you as far as what's falling from the sky. I mean, we might have a few clouds mixing in here and there, but we'll start the first 2 days of October in the low 70s, but then we warm up, and this upcoming weekend will be much like this last weekend. Sunshine with temperatures in the 80s.
Oh, Welcome back, everybody. Our Trade Up series is all about building a bigger pipeline into the skilled trades here in Metro Detroit. So we highlight people and organizations that are really making a difference. And today we are talking with some folks from Barton Mallow. If you're not familiar with this company, well, you have seen their work all around the state of Michigan. They have 100 years experience in the construction business, more than 3,000 team members all across North America. And one of the things that caught our attention is the boot camp program that teaches the construction fundamentals. So this morning I'm joined by Danis Mitchell and Dr. Hernando Flowers. All right. Both are leaders in workforce development. And this boot camp, Danis, this is something that you really spearheaded. Tell us how it works.
Yes. So it's one of my babies. In 2016, we, as a lead employer in the state of Michigan, decided that we wanted to make a difference. And being a lead construction manager, we were able to create a pathway into the industry by way of projects like the Little Caesars Arena. So we wanted to make sure that we were engaging our trade contractors to give young people ages 18 to 24 a vast experience across multiple trades. And that's what makes the program a bit unique, is that it's employer-led versus the reverse, which is workforce agency-led.
One thing that I notice when I meet people that work in skilled trades, which companies like Barton Mallow that are really like boots on the ground doing the construction, is the pride, like in building Little Caesars Arena and building Hudson Detroit, working on the Henry Ford site right now. There's a great sense of pride in being the person that helped build these things.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about being part of Barton Mallow Boot Camp, because since we're doing the program right on our projects, even the participants can say, hey, I helped out with that floor, or I have experience dealing with those different types of projects, because we expose them to the likes of steel, concrete, heavy civil, and they're also going under the mentorship of a skilled trades professional that provides that guidance and that mentorship. So hopefully they'll be prepared for the rigors of the skilled trades and an apprenticeship program.
Can you give perspective, Danis, since this boot camp started, how, you know, by the numbers, like how many more people are now in skilled trades, how that's helped you have enough staffing for all of these major construction projects?
Yeah, well, the need will never go away from my perspective. When we started the program, we started with 10 people. Since then, we've trained over 150 throughout the state of Michigan as well as North Carolina. And we've also become a collaborator with the governor's statewide infrastructure workforce program. And that is an initiative where Governor Whitmer wants to train more than 5,000 people by 2030. So by having pipeline programs like the Barton Mallow Boot Camp, it gives a level of support as well as collaboration amongst various stakeholders in our industry.
So how can people get into the boot camp? Who are you looking for? Who's the person that should take advantage of this?
Yeah, we're looking for local talent. So as mentioned, it's integrated into a variety of our projects. So we're looking for individuals 18 to 24, so young adults that's interested and passionate about construction, or at least curious about it. They can go to our website, bartonmallow.com, or we're taking open applications on bmctradecareers.com.
Very good. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about skilled trades lately. It's something that the station is very passionate about. There's a lot of opportunity, and it's also a very good career that you can start to have that financial independence and have a really good life.
Yes, yes, I'm living proof. I started in the industry, not as a skilled trades person, but through a career development vocational school, Randolph Career and Tech Center. And having partnerships with the educational system is key for getting people into the trades early. So, you know, when you have that exposure early on, the possibilities are endless in our industry.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate both of you coming in and all the work that you're doing, not only in building our skyline, but also, you know, getting that new generation in the skilled trades exposed and ready to take on these great careers. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Remember that this interview is a part of our Trade Up series, where we highlight the businesses, the organizations, and the schools that are helping people who want to pursue a career in the skilled trades. If you are interested, you can look up for past stories and all the additional information on the programs that are being offered. We have that all for you under Skilled Trades on clickondetroit.com. We are going to be sending you back out to Grand Blanc in just a moment. Nick Monticelli is there live as we are continuing our coverage of the tragic church attack there in Grand Blanc Township. What we are expecting this afternoon as investigators continue to search for more victims. Yeah. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Nick Monticelli here outside of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where I'm going to step out of the way and you can continue to see a growing police presence, both from the FBI, but ATF, Michigan State Police. And let's zoom in quickly here to see that group walking inside the church. That appears to be what would be some hazmat type material, type suits, so you can go inside of the church safely without being contaminated by anything. I can't tell if those are investigators or if they are a cleanup crew. I'm trying to look here through the lens, and now the tailgate of that SUV has kind of covered things there. But either way, you can see that things are still unfolding rapidly in front of us. I do want to show you some video from yesterday to give you a better perspective of just how
Tonight,
bad
our first
the
look at
attack
the man
was.
detectives are
Not in terms of just the shooting, but the fire as well. 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford rammed his pickup truck through the front door of the church, also lit the church on fire using gasoline, and also shot into the crowd of hundreds of people who were here for their Sunday service. 10 victims in all. 4 have died, 2 from gunshot wounds, 2 others because of the fire itself. We are waiting to get more information from the Grand Blanc Township Police Department and the FBI. I just talked to a sergeant here who said they have a meeting this morning to go over what their game plan is going to be for the rest of the day, as we have more investigators showing up on scene. We're told there's going to be a 1 o'clock press conference. That is tentative, but when that does happen sometime in this afternoon, we'll bring that to you live here on Local 4 Plus as well. In the meantime, keep it on ClickOnDetroit.com for updates throughout the day of this horrific tragedy in Grand Blanc Township.